wabarakatuh, and welcome back to the Iftar Drive. I am here in Johannesburg at Salam Media Studios with the Adli Jacobs, Uncle Adli Jacobs, I don't know, Adli Yakubi, as he goes by. And it's an honor to have you here this afternoon as we prepare ourselves for the Iftar of what is it the 11th fast?
Is it? Yeah.
I think so, yes.
Yes.
And time is flying, like they say, like the breeze over Tasbih.
Mm-hmm.
If one were to let it go, it's all full. We're all trying to hold on to those the days of Ramadan very dearly, but unfortunately time does fly.
Yeah.
But it is an honor to have you here this afternoon. And we're discussing a project, the brainchild of Adli Jacobs and Adli Yakubi. And it's clear that your passion is coming through in this project. And I won't name it, I'll let you do all of that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that I've been keeping an eye on for the last few months. And I think Ramadan is an appropriate time for us to speak about it right here. So if you could just tell us a bit about this project and how it shapes you and how you shaped it and what shaped you as well to form this project. Because I think for the listeners who will eventually come to know this project, it makes use of modern tools to tell a very old story very briefly. So welcome to Salam Media, Uncle Adli.
Walaikum salam. Shukran so much, Shakeel, to organizing this and talk to me about this issue around Rabbani creative studio, which is at my heart. I've always been a media journalist, writer. I started out designing magazines, New Era magazine, so many years ago. It's the late 80s. And what's happened from then until now is that I've never let go of my connection of not just media and writing and I wrote up a book around the issue, but it's beyond that. It's about connecting to people. That for me was always the connection. It's about heritage, legacy. Because we've got a wonderful community, and it's not just in Cape Town. It's wide. It's part of South Africa. It's here in Joburg and Kimberley, in PE. These are the culture of our people, which is why I like the connection that we had, Jawap, speaking in Afrikaans, or Afrikaans, and I've been working in all of these various elements in terms of because media has evolved. I mean, like you've got these television connections, and it's so beautiful, and the fact that all of these are connected through the internet.
Absolutely.
And I find that quite fascinating because through the internet now along comes AI. And for some people have been absolutely afraid of this, saying this is going to mess things up and so on. And I've always been in using apps through the internet, through a digital version. And here is a digital version. And I knew that even many years ago, the idea is to watch the process, read it, utilize it, and then to see how you can make this in the best possible way.
Definitely. And I think that, using these modern tools shouldn't make us fearful. Because there was a time that you made it call, when the Adhan was only called by the Bilal or the Muadhin climbing the mimbar and having to use his voice.
Yeah.
Because there were much better Bilals back then, much better Muadhins, because they were relying on their voices and data travel.
Yeah.
We have the sound system now. And I believe that there was quite an uproar when this became vogue because people resisted and said no. The same with us. Muslims carried their dead to the maqbaras, to the kubas, to the cemeteries. And the resistance to using this hearse, apparently one of our elders told me that there was a person by the name of Putachami Bungard, and he said that they must burn the hearse because this is not part of our deen, And today, where would we be without us? Because Jay play daar, ik play here, the Kubas is daar, the Masita is daar. It would not be possible to facilitate the movement of people in a dignified manner, timelessly, and give the heart to the marriage. So, like that AI, yes, apparently there are ChatGPT that has also its environmental footprint, and the effect on the environment is something that we need to be cognizant of.
Yeah.
But I think what you've done with this Rabbani is create beautiful graphics that imagine the stories that you tell in pictures, and it's very cleverly done in a way that a young person might click and say, "Oh, what is that?" Whereas perhaps packaged in an old way, it might be discarded. So, what can you highlight for us for the month of Ramadan as a reflection that you're perhaps experiencing this particular month, in the particular time we're living in the particular geopolitical sphere we're living in, that Rabbani or the Adli Yaqubi is reflecting at the time that we and listeners can perhaps take heed of and cognizance of?
Yeah. No, shukran so much. That insight that you just said now about the hearse, I mean, like, that's fascinating, because that's precisely the issue. That we've got wider options now, and that's the way I see it. And that is why when we talk about Ramadan, I'm saying we have many options through this. The one is when you look at art. I mean, like, one of the things that I was inspired was not just the calligraphy of it, because there are different versions of it. I actually liked that squarish version of it, because by itself is digital. It's like inspired of the Kaaba itself. It's squared, and you can say, for example, Allah, and it would be one square like this, and put in the Nabi Muhammad, just Muhammad, and then put Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But it's not just squaring it and narrowing it. It's you have options beyond it. Now, what do you do behind it? What are the backgrounds for this? And it's, for me, I always find that quite inspirational, because now we can take, for example, words like Qul Allahu Ahad, with the entire Qul, that entire verse, now you can square it, or you can widen it up and put it in metal, in your house. Because once somebody sees this on the internet, they'll be inspired of it immediately. They'll grab it. I did one on Bismillah, just Bismillah, not Ar-Rahman, Bismillah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, just Bismillah. But within it, I turned it into a key, because saying Bismillah, it opens up the key, you see. And that's the way that I see it. So that was on the one side. On the other side, what the ChatGPT also helped is that I could at least do my own interview, my own research, my own story, and then I needed some parts of it to be edited. The trick is not to let them do the writing. Don't let your compass go. Hold on to your compass. That was the idea. I put that in my email.
Yes.
I said that I need to hardwire that into the process. It's about Qibla.
Yes, yeah.
It's about connection. It's about remaining to the belief of Allah.
I think, being true to your voice, because as an author, as a writer, as an artist, that can be lost when this editor that has no name, that's not human, can come and sort of take away the meat and soul of what you were trying to put out. But when it comes to Jawab, and the word that you used just now, to answer to callers, to be part of, to respond, what do you find, what do we need to be jawabbing to? What do we need to be responding to in this time, in our current sphere that we live in, that you think perhaps using ChatGPT, using AI, using your voice as your own voice, that you could channel that energy towards, that you think we as young people, as listeners, should be taking heed of in this point in time?
That's a very good question. I mean, someone sent me a little video in WhatsApp, and in it there was Tuan Yusuf, right, using AI, right? I don't know whether it's ChatGPT itself, but it doesn't matter. The point was, what was the story? The story was basically this hero, with his sword, and the first thing I saw was, this is inspirational. Wow! But then, like I told you earlier, the whole thing don't let your compass go. I said, let's pause. What exactly did it say? And what did it miss? And I'm saying, Tuan Yusuf didn't arrive by himself, alone. He came with companions and other companions that joined him, and his wives. And it was he had inspired a number of people by the time that when he died. The point is, when he talks about the voice, let us pause. What exactly can we do with this? Not just how inspirational it could be, but what's the content in it? That's the important part. This is why you interviewing me.
Yes, yeah.
Because you could just simply have a discussion through the television, in the interview, through the stream. But what's the point? The point is, pause, find the right content of it. And that was, for me, is the issue. That we need to find the right content of what are we going to sing about? What are we going to say about? Because we've got so many options. There's now been theater that has opened. There are now movies around the process. I mean, what are the stories? Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about this. Let us take Bosmont. Let us celebrate Bosmont. But let's find the right story, the right people, the right hooks, and those stories are sitting within our hearts. Our parents have told us these stories.
And the issue of Sheikh Yusuf, we just discussed yesterday with Shafiq Morton, and about the voetboeg and the boat coming and the lack of water, potable water, and the story that goes that Sheikh Yusuf had dipped his ankle in the water and Allah allowed for that water to be potable.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break.
Sure.
And when we come back, we're going to be reflecting shortly with our uncle or brother Adli Jacobs here in studio at Salam Media about the month of Ramadan and how one can find the inner voice to tell the story, to connect with Allah first of all, and to make sure that the stories of the past linger for very long into the future using modern tools, but just casually also something that you reflect on Ramadan as a kid, and Ramadan as a middle-aged person, and Ramadan as an even younger person as you are now, before I tread dangerous waters. But inshallah, we'll be back after the break to continue to speak to Adli Jacobs.
Millions of Muslims around the world live in deep poverty, uncertain of where their next meal will come from. This Ramadan, your generosity can be a means of sustenance, dignity, and hope. From just 1,000 Rand, you can provide a Ramadan food pack filled with essential items so that those in need can enjoy nourishing meals for Suhoor and Iftar. Be the reason a family is fed this Ramadan. Visit IslamicRelief.org.za.
The kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning or for the late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating, and celebrating life together. Let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, Now We Cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
Dad, these Frymax chips are so tasty.
Wow, that really takes me back. My dad bought me a Frymax chips every day after school. They were my favorite when I was your age as well. Quality is at the very heart of what we do, and that's why we ensure that every Frymax packet is filled with the beautiful goodness and flavor-packed taste that you've come to expect from us since 1982. Frymax, from generation to generation.
Water is life, a truth we feel deeply in Ramadan. It's the first thing we reach for after a long day of fasting. But for millions, clean water is still out of reach. Families are forced to drink unsafe water, risking illness. We're working to change this, providing life-saving water to vulnerable communities across 13 countries. This Ramadan, give the gift of water. Visit muslimhands.org.za.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
You are listening to Salam Media live from our headquarters in South Africa. This is Salam Media, keeping you company this Ramadan.
Assalamu alaikum, and we are back with the Iftar drive. Wherever you are, you might not be driving. We clearly are not driving. So the Iftar drive, as we drive the point home, that is the point of Ramadan, the point of heritage, and the point of stepping back to step forward with Adli Jacobs, Adli Yakubi, as he goes by the pen name and I would invite you all to look at the work that he's written. He'll tell us shortly where we can find that, of course. Yeah. But Adli, tell us, the grey hair is something of a hint at a life lived, not a life fully lived yet, but a life lived, and stories of youth, and the quirkiness that you come with, the intrigue that you bring wherever you are. Tell us a bit about Ramadan as a child. Yeah. Where were you? What were you? And with who were you? And what were you eating? What were you doing? What did it sound like? And take us a bit back for a few minutes.
The right spark. I love that. I mean, I was born in District 6, near the Table Mountain, near the Val Drive, just below the Val Drive. And when I was about 5 years old, my mom would go gat by die stoep toe en sê vir my wanneer sy Adaan, right? And then of course but these lights are supposed to go on, and I don't even know which lights we're looking for. Now you can imagine this is the 6 and there's the harbor. I mean, there's so many lights, and of course I'm 5 years old, so I had absolutely no idea. I thought it's enough now. I also eat. So I said the Bilal bang, and I screamed outside there, and everybody started to eat. My mother said, wait, wat 'n liggie. Ek sê ek weet nie wat 'n liggie praat van nie. But it was a wonderful moment, simply because I've never forgotten that process, that moment, because this whole thing of making the adhan and waiting for it, I mean, like I took my parents for Hajj. I was there during their Umrah, and still at the time of Ramadan, obviously. And so we're sitting there in the Haram, and my dad sitting next to me, and my dad says, look at this Arab, and he's got a date in his hand, and he's twirling that date, he was waiting for the adhan to come, and my dad finding it very funny, saying, just look at this guy, and of course the point was that the generousness of the Arabs there, different types of Arabs. There were Egyptians, there was Yemenis, there was the Arabs from the area, from Makkah, and they would come with coffee. They would love their coffee, and obviously there are versions of their dates. They are those soft ones, that you just swallow, you just put it in your mouth and and it's almost like a drink, and so on. But the point was, I loved the moments, not just of the Buka time, but during the Tarawih, because so the Tarawih was happening, and there's another Arab standing next to me, and he had a baby on him, this guy. With the baby, and he just put the boy, I think it was a girl, in front of him, and he made his salah right there, and he would made his sujood over the baby. Okay, meaning the other kid next to him had the Quran in him, and he held his Quran in his hand. I think probably about 9 years old, and then as the recital was happening, he would handle he was reading the Quran as they go. But what was missing for me was you made your salah, the first set, and now you're doing the second set, and now you just quietly just do the next. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, maar waar is die poetjies aan nou? As I nie salawat aan nie, no tahleel, but no, there was nothing like that. because this is not part of their custom. It's not part of their sunnah, but it's part of my sunnah. So I couldn't help myself. I had to like quietly, you know, you know, and I did this. Even right at the end, Subhana Malikul Quddus. So wonderful piece, man, and you hold it. Subhana Malikul Quddus, Subhana Malikul Quddus, Subhana Malikul Quddus.
And I mean, the hadith advises us that after the witr salah, we should recite that. Now, of course, the hadith doesn't come with a lagu or with a recording or how it must be blended, but of course, it has become so partial of the culture at the Cape and then in the areas of the Cape's people as they had moved.
But Sheikh Jamil, in fact, advised us some very interesting sunnah on the story. That generally, when you're sitting in the masjid, whether it's Jum'ah or for Tarawih or whatever, and you're making many times salah, right? Then once the sense of the first set is done, right? Then you must move. So you make your sunnah, right? And Isha, right? Now you must twee more, and then the witr and so forth. Then you move your legs, huh? Because you're making a difference. You must
distinguish between the salah.
Distinction is important. But if you can't, because there's so many people around you, then you at least you must use words.
Speak or say something.
And that is where the puji comes from.
Now, what better to say but the words of Allah, the praises of Allah, and the salvation of Nabi Muhammad.
This is the genius of it, you know. I mean, like I grew up after Primrose Park, after District 6, we grew up in Primrose Park. Primrose Park was young, which is Basmantas, you know, it was young years ago. Huh? So there was this tents, okay? But one of the communities, because the rain came in, so the tents can't handle, you know, because with Kaap, as it rains, you know, it's winter and so forth. Okay, so but Yusuf Beg, he then got his backyard, right, his garage, and he opened up that space for us to make our tarawih. I mean, again, also kinders. Also, of course, tickle the toes, you know, and his jokes gemaakt. But the point was, we remained. We remained, and the whole thing that handled us was the pujis. Because we can do those pujis today without even having to read anything. It's in your heart. It's in your blood.
So perhaps we should just give the listeners a taste of what it is you're talking about. Because between the 2 raka'ats of the salah, in certain masajid of Johannesburg and many in the Cape and Port Elizabeth and Kimberley and so on, this is rendered pujis coming from an Indonesian Sanskrit word for praises. And so the pujis of Allah, the praises of Allah, the dhikr of Allah, Allah hoog te maak, to make Allah high and to acknowledge Allah and so on. Maybe Buddha Adli would like to explain or give a demonstration in your humble lagu for the people of putting you on the spot.
No, it's quite, you know, in the tarawih in itself. After you start off with the iqama around it, okay. In fact, the wonderful thing is Burhanu. In fact, I've written these little books on the story, little booklet. And in fact, I put that in my essay, so that people could not just, they can feel it basically and hold on to it and give to those and their kids that are not going to remember, you know. But the one part I like is actually just in between. You make your two rakas, you know, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu wa sallam alayhi. Now some people, the one would say it, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, and then everybody answers. It's like a question and an answer. But it's beautiful because, in other words, we're putting the salawat in every time we make a salah. Because when you say the salawat, it is Allah puts peace upon it. That is what we're actually saying.
And I mean, the Quran, the ayah Inna Allah wa malaikatahu was revealed in the month of Sha'ban to guide the ummah to send salutations upon Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Allah does so, because the malaika do so.
Exactly.
So, but I mean, as you said, the answer and the giving and the taking, you know, the tukang and jawab is something beautiful that creates a togetherness Ek gaan nie net oor jou nie. As is net jou voice nie. It's all of ours. We all together.
Yes.
We all in a Jama.
Yes.
Besides, of course, the Hufad or the Imam that is leading the Salah.
Now, the wonderful thing at Primrose Park when the mosque was built is that the youngest ones, they had beautiful voices. So they were trained before the evening, right? So by the time the evening comes, now we'll say, Jawab, recite, you know? So they guided. So they were the leaders. And these were youngsters. Huh? You're talking about 9 years old, 12 years old, you know, and sometimes Zain, you know, there's one of the guy right next to our masjid, and he would be, because he was a big guy, but not a big man, but he was an older man. But the point was, his voice is so thin, you know, and so everybody was trying to find a thin voice like that, you know. But the point was beautiful is that at the end of the Tarawih, there's a longer recital, and again, it is the one with the wonderful voice would recite it, and everybody respond through it, you know. And there were wonderful things that were invested in it, because these are not just about salawat and tahleel. These are also that whole Subhana Malikul Quddus, you know. It is pulling out particular names of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, you know, in a beautiful way, that it's not just, you're not just reciting it, you're not just saying this at the khutbah, it's about singing it, you know, and recite in a particular lagu. The lagu is the important part, because if you miss the lagu, you're not going to remember this. The lagu helps the remembering.
And I mean, the footprint of that lagu is what is still in your mind as an elderly, well, not elderly, but as a grown man from being a kid. That footprint traverses time. And that lagu carries, just like how the Fatiha that you learn, or the An in Un, you know, Alif Vetas, the way you were taught your harafs, the first things that you learn, Asma Husna and so on, those things form part and parcel of any culture, of any Muslim community in the world. The first things that you teach your children is what sticks with them for life and becomes the building blocks, I suppose.
But you know, the other thing is also, now that I'm getting older, now in my 60s now the point is, when you've got your 20 rakaat of your tarawih, nou vergiet jy, waar sit ek? Sy het nou 6 gemaak, of het hulle 12 gemaak al? You know, that is why I like the difference in the tarawih. The part is the salawat, and then tahleel and the La ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah, you know.
So you know where you stand, effectively, yeah.
You see, so now you know, nee, jy kan nie visie, jy ene nie. Jy kan nie nummer 4 visie. Jy moet vis number 6.
And I saw a kid turn to their father at Greenside Mosque 2 days ago, and he says, Daddy, what number are we on now? And I remember being that child, you know. But as a Puji's dag, we said, if the Puji's was there, maybe we would be able to. But I mean, of course, it's not about to do or not to do, or to be or not to be, but it's to celebrate the way it is happening, you know. So, you know, we are going to close shortly, but are there any other remarks that you have for us moving forward? The rest of Ramadan still coming, Aankom nog, you know, the 15th still coming. But just, I mean, anybody, whether you celebrate these things or not, what good can we take through the rest of Ramadan before it does come to an end?
Look, it's first of all, Ramadan is a wonderful opportunity. It's a gift, absolutely a gift. But at the same time, we're also living in a period of challenge, and we need to be conscious about this. But the time of Ramadan is, in fact, in a more wonderful gift of it, because it was during the Battle of Badr. It happened during Ramadan. You see, so but that Ramadan, that Badr was 2 ways. The one was the jihad, but it was also the bigger jihad was operating the heart. So that's why the wonderful opportunity is Ramadan, not just for making a tarawih. I mean, the Itikaf is coming. These are now 11th day, you know. Now, when it comes to after the 20 days,
we look forward to that.
Now, Itikaf is an opportunity of taking more space or more time
or suspending particular parts of us, getting the part either in the masjid, and there are also ways of doing this even in your house by making a niyyah through the process. But the whole point is to now do our reciting a little bit better. And you know, a lot of people, they want to do their reciting with translation, you know, and so on. Actually, I prefer the voice, man. Of just simply reciting the Arabic itself and then absorbing and holding onto it. For me, that's why I'm doing, for example, a khatam, my own khatam, my own juz, you know. So so now it should have been my 11th one, but I've missed, you know. So now I must klaar maak, you see. But that's it's an opportunity. It's a gift for me, you know. And then I'm hoping I'm waiting for itikaf because Laylatul Qadr. That's the opportunity. Waiting for guessing.
Yeah, when is it? Yes.
You know, as you know, some people also used to say the seventh wave. You must go for the seventh wave. You will find sweet water than salt water.
Oh wow!
There's a story around this. It's a myth to a degree.
But I mean, you know, just sitting here thinking, I realize Ramadan is about anticipation. You wait for the moon to be sighted, then you start fasting. You wait for the adhan to go, and then you wait for itikaf to begin. Then ultimately you wait for Laylatul Qadr, and then ultimately you wait for Eid. And so is life. We are in anticipation, but it's active anticipation. It's not passive. We're not sitting still, and we actually doing something while we wait. I'm going to ask while we wait for Iftar to happen and Maghrib to okay, for you to just let us know where can the listeners read more about your work, the Rabbani work, and delve deeper into these things that we discussed, because clearly this wasn't enough time.
Shukran so much, Shakeel. I've set up two sets in my through the internet. The one is my own blog, Adli Yakubi with a Y, Yakubi CAUBI .blog. That is so adliyakubi.blog is my blog. But I found a wonderful blog that's called Substack, and this one is also the same, Adli Yakubi substack.com, and simply because the reason why I've also connected with Substack is and I'm sharing it with other people because there's an opportunity, because there's wonderful little magazines in it, in those essays.
Okay.
And it's easier to do your own if you want to share anything. You know, you want to just put in a journal. You know, so that's what I do. You know, that's what I call the Rabbani creative studio, that in many ways it's a journey.
Yeah, it's the thoughts, it's your processes, your reflections.
That's it.
And so as we reflect on what you've told us, inshallah, we look forward to that. I'm going to ask, perhaps we can render the Subhanal Malik al-Qudus as we close the segment, and then we'll be back after the break. We're speaking to Maulana Wasim Lahe of the Northlip area, not the Northlip Masjid, but Northlip area, about a recent incident which took place on YouTube using modern tools, where a Dan man took to YouTube to discuss the Islamic faith and his disagreements with the faith and perhaps some misconceptions. That will be after the break. Before we get to the break, we'll be reciting the puji. Subhana Malikil Qudus, Subhana Malikil Qudus, Subhana Malikil Qudus, Subhan Qudus, Rabbuna wa Rabbul Malaikati wa Ruh. Adli, shukran so much. Allah take you safely, and I'm sure we'll have you back here again to speak further. And please stay tuned after the break for that segment about the Northlip Masjid and the incident about Islam that will come up before we break for Iftar. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.